Welcome to the introductory part of our little mini scene day, which I would normally call a scene evening, but which today is a scene afternoon. We will be doing two scenes, which I've labeled as scenes of alienation and loneliness, and they have that theme in common, although they're very different types of literature. One from Terence Rattigan, and the other one from Tennessee Williams. And you'll see the difference in style, but hopefully have a sense of the common theme in both of them. This acting program, of which this scene presentation is a part, is a long-term training in a version of Meisner technique, which aims at truthful acting on stage or on film through various stages of training, which start out with truthful acting as yourself, go into basic scene work, and then go through an extensive character program in which we use specific tools to build up the emotional and physical existence, the physical life of a character, which is a unique alternate human being that the actor creates through his or her impulses. So this particular presentation represents that third stage of development in the program, which has two parts to it. First, the development of tools for character work, so that you can transform yourself into, hopefully, into another person, emotionally and behaviorally. And then the current program, which has just been completed and culminates in these scenes, which is the integration of the character techniques with the scene work process and with the rehearsal process. So each one of these scenes presents two unique characters, two unique human beings, which the actors have done a lot of work in order to create and embody. In the first scene, Separate Tables, you have someone who is a hostess, a manageress, manager of a residential hotel. Takes place in an earlier time when things were more formal, and please come in. Nice to see you. You can grab one of the red chairs or a spot on one of the lower side couches.
A red chair?
You can take that red chair if you like, or there's a spot on a couch over here if you would like.
This is fine.
Okay. And the characters involved are this very nice proprietor of the hotel, or manager of the hotel, but she actually has a much more turbulent life that's not directly revealed, and which was described in the program. And so there's something in that character about really being a rebel, really being a nonconformist, but presenting herself as a very stable, solid citizen. And in this scene, she communicates, in a sense, her philosophy of life and how she really feels about being nonconformist, although she does it in a subtle way. The other character in that scene is basically what you would call a broken person, someone who has gone into her 30s, dominated by her mother, with a highly volatile emotional life, frightened of life, extremely undeveloped and incapable of going out into the world or taking care of herself. And it's the interaction between those two characters where this stronger and more stable person, but who also doesn't believe in the system that exists at that time, trying to support or help or guide this other broken person into a different direction, into a different kind of life. In the second scene, you also have two characters who are broken, who are damaged. And one of them is a former movie star who depends on her image and on her reputation, and who believes that has been destroyed. And so she's run away, taken stuffed herself up with whatever drugs and alcohol she can manage, found a drifter from her point of view, or a gigolo from her point of view, who she can hang out with and lose herself and forget her life. And he, on the other hand, is a person whose reputation has also been ruined. Came back from the Korean War with a reputation for having deserted or been a coward, rejected by his town, by the people he knew, cast off, and particularly rejected by the most important family in the town, the most powerful family, the richest family, who happens to be the family of his girlfriend, who has also rejected him. So he's trying to use this movie star to hopefully make some kind of connection, some kind of comeback of his own, and build himself up to a point where he can show himself to be, a player, and try to get his girlfriend to come back to him. So there are these complex relationships and people who are basically going down the tubes. And these two, in this scene, are grasping at each other to try to stay afloat, and at the same time perhaps also pulling each other further down. Again, the goal of these scenes, aside from the interest that the scenes themselves have, and what I would watch for as an audience member, are two things. One, is there a sense of a clear, specific character? Do you see a specific human being that has some sense of real existence? Hopefully through their impulses and through the work they've done, they've created a structure for the reality of these characters rather than just acting them out as might be sometimes done in acting. And the other thing that I would be watching for is the basic principle of this approach to acting, which is whether you are doing character work or not doing character work, that there's a sense of real interaction and real response back and forth between the actors, a sense that whether they really are or not, that there's an element of improvisation and an element of taking in what's happening in the moment and allowing that to affect the response. So those are two interesting things to watch for. In these studio performances, there is a very minimal set, very minimal surroundings, very minimal trappings that you would see in a theatrical production. And I'm personally attracted to that. It allows you to really focus on the work, focus on the actors, and that the acting by itself holds up the reality of the scenes. Now, there is a truthful amount of costume and what you would call props to support the real things that the actors are doing in these human situations. And beyond that, there shouldn't be anything that's just around for show. One other note on the way that we're going to do this, which is that we're going to do each of the scenes twice. And we'll do each scene twice in a row. And this is something that I've just done recently when we have the luxury of doing it because there aren't that many scenes in a particular presentation. And the intention, also to remind the actors of this, the intention is that for the first time through, the actors can pay attention to what they're doing and kind of get the most out of each of the moments in their scenes. Take all the work that they've done and kind of bring it out. And that's sort of a more meticulous kind of conscious process. And then the second time, having done that, to kind of drop all of that and just trust the work that they've done, do the scene from a more improvisational standpoint, and allow the work to come out through their impulses without really watching it or checking it. Now, it sometimes happens at this stage of development that the two versions are somewhat similar and that they're not that different. But it can also happen that it gives two interesting different types of versions of the scene. One that's a little bit more thorough, and the other one that's a little bit more impulsive. So that'll be interesting to watch for as well. Thanks, and we'll take a moment.
Okay.